Hello and welcome to our 11th session, and in this session we are going to model a headphone. So to begin with, let us come into Blender, and I am now going to select this default cube, press X, and I am going to delete it. Then I am going to start my headphone job by pressing Shift plus A, and I am now going to add a circle. Now in the add circle, I am only going to change the number of vertices here from 22 to 24, and then I will press edit tab and enter into edit mode. So now in the edit mode, I will just press 1 and then I will just zoom it a little like this, and then I am now going to press E, Z, and I am going to extrude it a little like this. Then I will again press E, Z, and I am going to extrude by the same amount again like this. Then I will press 2 and come into this edge selection mode, and then I will press Alt and I am going to select this edge. Now I will press S and I am going to scale it by 1.1. Now here I will just middle mouse click and turn here, and with Alt click I will select the below edge loop, and I am going to press E and then press S, and I will just scale it in a little like this one time, then again ES, and I am going to scale it again a little. I will press ES again and I am going to scale it 3 times like this, and I am going to then press F. Now similarly, now I will just tilt up and I am going to Alt click and select this top loop here, and I am going to now press ES and I am going to just scale it out a little. Then I will press EZ and I will create a slight projection like this. Then I will press ES and I will slightly scale it out like this. Then I will again press EZ and I will move it up like this. I will create this shape. Then I will again press ES and I will scale it inside like this. Again I will press EZ and I will scale it in like this. Again I will press ES and I will scale it in like this, and I will press F. Now I will press A to select everything, press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and now I will just zoom out a little, and then I will press G and I will move it somewhere to the point over here, and I will press R and I am going to rotate it like this. So I am going to just rotate it by an angle of around minus 70 degree. I will rotate this and see that the origin point is here, and we have our headset here, and I will press tab here, and now I will come into the modifier, and now in the modifier I will come into search and I am going to search for my mirror modifier, and when I click on this I will have its mirrored model over here. So now I will model one side and the other side will be mirrored automatically. Now next here I am going to press numpad 3 and come into the side view, and I will again press tab and I will come into the edit mode, and I will come into the vertex selection mode, and I will select the first vertex over here. Then with shift pressed I select 2 vertex on the left, I will select 2 vertex on the right, and then I will press Ctrl numpad plus to add this to the selection. So I got this entire selection here like this. Now I will press numpad 1 and come into the side view, and I will press E now and I will slightly extrude it. I will again press G and I will slightly move it to the side like this, slightly little, and then I will press R and I am going to rotate this and I am going to make it straight, so that the next extrusion should move straight. I want this to be flattened, I doesn't want this to be curved. So what I will now do is I will type yes, Z, and if I type 0 and press enter, so now this entire top area is now flattened. So you can see this has been flattened. Now I will press, I am in the vertex selection mode, I will select this vertex with shift press second, 3, 4, 5 vertices here. I have selected these 5 vertices, press X and I will delete the vertices. So now I have this open, and now I will come into the edge selection mode. I will click Alt and I am going to select this entire edge, press 1 and now come into the front view. I will just zoom out a little now. So now I will again press E and I will slightly move this to the top, and I am now going to design this shape over here. I will slightly move it, I will press Z and move it straight till here. Then I will press R and I will slightly rotate it. Then I will press E and I am going to move it like this. I will move it till here, and then I will press R and I will slightly rotate it. This is the second extrusion. Then again I will press this. This is the third one. I will move it till here, and if required I will press R and I will slightly rotate it. Then I will again press I and I am going to move somewhere here, press R and I am going to slightly rotate it, and then finally I will press I and I will move it over here at this point somewhere here, and I will press R and I will rotate this and make it straight like this. Now if I press G and if I move it, see what happens is, in normal condition this intersects one another, the mirror intersects one another and moves out like this. I doesn't want this to happen. So I will right click and cancel this, and I will come into this mirror option and I am going to enable clipping. Now when I enable clipping, and now if I press G and if I move it like this, see I will move this till here and I will just zoom it, and here I am going to press R and I will rotate it like this so that this is straight, and then I will again press G and if I move it like this, see it gets clamped over here. And so now I have my headset structure ready. If I middle mouse click, turn and see this, the issue is this is very wide. I want to reduce this width. So for that, already I have this edge selected here. I will press Ctrl plus numpad plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I select these 5 extrusions that we have created, and now I will press scale and I am going to scale it along the Y axis like this, and I am going to make this headset narrow like this. Finally, I will deselect everything. I will alt click and select this center, and I will slightly move it GZ, and I will slightly move it to the top like this, and I will press tab, and now this model of our headset is now ready. And this is actually the hood of our headset. So I will come over in my outliner window, and here instead of the circle I am now going to call this as hood. And our next task is to make this speaker. So right now I will now hide this hood. Now I will press Shift A, and I am now going to add another circle, and this circle will also have 24 vertices. So here I will press numpad 7 and come into the front view, and I will press tab and I will come into the vertex selection mode, and I have 24 vertices here. And what I want is this, I want it to be slightly elliptical. So I will press yes, X, and I am going to scale it by 1.1 so that it is slightly elliptical. And now I will press ES, and I will just scale it like this, and I will add one face like this, ES, and I will again scale it like this, and then I will press F and I am going to fill it. Then I will come into the edge selection mode, and I will press Alt and I will select this edge. Now coming to 1, that is numpad 1 and front view, and now I will just zoom it here. I will now press E, Z, and I am going to move slightly. I will add a slight depth like this, and then I will again press EZ. I will move it and make a larger depth now, and I am going to press S and I am going to scale it up like this. Then I will again press EZ and I will move it a little more here, and I will press S and I am going to slightly scale it like this. Now here I will press ES and I will slightly scale it a little larger here. So I will scale it by around 1.1 unit, and then with shift middle mouse I will tilt up, and then I will press E and I will press Z and I will move it up like this. I will add this surface like this, and then alt select this. I will press ES and I will just scale it in a little like this, and then I will press EZ and I will move it down, and when I am moving it I will just move it a little like this till here. I will move it, and if required GZ I will move it a little more inside. I will again press ES and I am going to just scale it in like this. Then I am now going to press GZ and I will slightly move it down like this. Then I will press ES again and I will add a face like this. I will add ES again and I will add a face like this, and then I will press F. And now I will press tab, and now our speaker set is almost ready. Now I will press 1 and I will see this. Press tab again, I will press A to select everything, and I will press scale, and along the Z axis I will scale it down a little like this. Then I will press GZ and I will move it down and I will place it over here. I will press tab now, and I am now going to right click and I am going to add shade auto smooth, and also selecting this I will come into my add modifier, and in the search I am going to search for my subdivision surface, and I am going to add this subdivision surface, and in viewport also I will set it to 2 subdivision surface. This entire shape is too much curvy. I want to sharpen some edges here. So for that I will press tab, and then I will press Alt R, and here at this point I will click here and I am going to add a loop like this. See, like this, and then I will again press Alt, and at this point I will click and I will add a loop like this, so that I get a sharper edge here. And same thing I will do it here. I will press Alt here and I am going to click here and I am going to drag it and bring it here. Again I will press Alt, I will click here, I will drag it and make it bigger. And now if I press tab and see it, so this appears to be slightly better now. I will press tab here, and in the edge selection mode I will Alt click this edge, and then I will press S and I will slightly scale it, so that when I press tab you have this kind of separation over here. And similarly here I will also add Alt R here, and I am going to make this edge also sharp. I will again press Alt R and I will add a loop here, and if I press tab, so this also I have this sharp edge here. At this point I will again press tab and then press Alt R, and I will add one surface and I will pull it over here, and similarly I will press Alt R and click at this point, and I am going to move it and I am going to make this edge sharper, so I have a sharp edge. And now similarly even at the bottom I will press tab and I will press Alt R, and even at the bottom here I am now going to add a loop here, and also I will press Alt R and I will make this point also sharper like this. I will Alt click and select this edge, and I will press Ctrl B and I will add a slight bevel here, and then if I press tab you can now see that this edge is also made sharper. And now I will press tab and let us add some interesting shapes over here. So for this I will come into this face selection mode and I will select 2 faces here. I will leave 2 faces gap and I will select next 2 faces. I will leave 2 faces gap next 2 faces. I will select leave 2 faces gap next 2 faces, 2 faces gap next 2 faces, 2 faces gap next 2 faces. So like this I have selected all these faces now, and then I am going to press E and I am going to extrude it, and I will right click and then I will press Alt S and I am going to slightly scale. I will press shift and I will slightly scale it down like this. Then I am going to press another E here. Okay, I will Alt click and then again I will press Alt yes, and I will press shift and I will add an extrusion like this. So I got a shape like this now. And now after this, to make this edges sharper, I will press Ctrl R and I will add one shape over here, and I will again press Ctrl R and I will drag this loop and place it down over here. And if I press tab and if I see it, I now have an interesting shape like this. This now appears something like a speaker. And now here on these edges I want to create a kind of a line here. So to create this I will press tab here, I will press Alt R and I am going to add one surface somewhere here. I will again press Alt R and I am going to add another loop over here, and I am going to create a separation here like this, and I will come into face selection and with Alt press, when I click on this I have this entire thing selected. I will press E and then I will right click. So, I have extruded it, and now I will press Alt S and I will slightly move it in like this, and then again I will press E and then I will press S and I am going to scale it out like this. And if I press S, you can now see a kind of double line appearing over here, and the same thing I will also do it on the other end. So, I will again press Tab, I will press Alt R, click here, and I will add a line here like this, somewhere till here, and then again I will select this face selection and I will select this face, and again I will extrude this, Alt right click, cancel it, Alt S, and I will scale it inside like this. I will press E and then I will press S and I will scale it back like this, and if I press S, you are going to see this kind of surface created over here. And now I will press 1 and come into the front view, and I will now enable this hood. So, now this hood is on. Now, I will select this, and now I will press Tab and I will press A to select everything, and I will press G and move it over here, and if required I will slightly scale it down. I will press R and I am going to rotate it to this angle. I will press G and move it over here, and I am going to place it over this like this, and if required I will slightly scale it like this, and I will press G and move it like this and place it over my headset like this. See, I will just see that it is precisely placed over this like this. If required I will slightly scale it more. I will press 1 again, and here I will just press G and I am just going to place it on my hood like this. So, once I have this placed on the hood, now I will press Tab, and now for this circle I will come here and I am now going to call this as speaker, and then I will come into add modifier and I am going to add a mirror modifier even for this, and now we have the two headset speakers. And now I feel this hood to be little small, so I will press 1 and I will come in the front view. I will press Tab and I am going to select, Alt click, I will come into this edge selection mode. I will Alt click and select this edge, and if required I will press G and I will slightly move it to the top like this. I will Alt click this edge and I am going to just press G and slightly move it to the top like this. Come into this X-ray mode and I am going to come into this vertex selection. I select all these 3 vertices, then press G, Z, and I will slightly move it to the top so that it is slightly now bigger, and I will also select this and move it little inside like this, and also I will select this and I will press GZ and I will slightly move it to the top like this, so that this shape is now redesigned. I will switch off this toggle X-ray and now you can see this. Now, only thing is, even for this I will right click and I will choose shade auto smooth, and then I will come over in my modifier and I am going to add the modifier subdivision surface even for this, and even for this I will add in viewport 2 part so that you have a smooth hood. Now I want to add some kind of circular shapes over here. So, for this I will select this and I will press Tab, and here what I will now do is I will press Ctrl R and I will add one loop here, and I will right click and place it at the center, and then I will press Ctrl R and I will add 2 loops here and I will click here. So, I will right click and place it at the center. Now, I will come into this face selection and I will press Alt, and I am now going to select this circle over here, and I am now going to press E and I am going to slightly extrude it like this. And similarly, now I will come here and I will Alt click here this circle and I will press and I will extrude it like this. And after I do the extrusion, if I press Tab and see it, these edges are very smooth. I want it to be sharp. So, I will press Alt and then I will press Ctrl R and I will add one loop over here to make this sharper, and then I will press Ctrl R again and I will add one loop here to make this sharper, and again I will press Ctrl R and I will add one more loop here, and I will move it like this, and I will make this sharp like this. I will press Ctrl or add one more loop, and I will make it sharp like this. See here, I will make it sharp like this. I will again press Ctrl R, and here I am going to add a loop like this, and I will press Ctrl R again here in this segment, and I am going to make this sharper like this. So now if I press and if I see this, you can now see this sharper edges present over here, and so now we have some interesting shape present on our headset. And now after this, in the headset, if I press 1 and see here, I want to add some cuts here, 2 cuts here. So for this I will press tab, and I will come over here, and at this point here I will press Ctrl R, and I am going to add one loop cut, and I am going to move it and place it somewhere here. I will move it till here. If required, I will press GG double time, and I will move it slightly closer, and then I will select the face selection tool. I will alt click here and select this face, and then I will press E and then right click and then press S, and I am going to scale it down like this here. And if I press tab, you have this structure like this. I want this to be sharp, so again I will press tab, I will press Ctrl R, and I am going to drag this, and I will add a sharp edge like this. I will press Ctrl R here, and I am going to add a sharp edge like this. So now you have this kind of cut that is present here. I will press tab, and you can see this kind of cut present here. And now finally I will again press tab, and now I have the edges here. I will press Alt A and deselect everything. I will Alt click this edge, with Shift Alt I will select this edge, with Shift Alt I will select this edge. Then similarly I will come to the back, and I am going to press Shift Alt, and I will select this edge. With Shift Alt I am going to select this edge over here, and also Shift select this edge. And after making this selection, see that it is fully selected. Now I will press Ctrl B, and I am going to add a slight bevel like this. I will add a very slight bevel of around 0.01, and now if I press tab, you can now see these edges are appearing sharper, and it is now looking more better. I will press 1 and come over here, and I will press tab, and only thing is now I will select alt click and select this tab, and then press G Z, and I will slightly move it to the top like this, and I will press tab. And now finally the speakers that you see here will actually have a perforated cover over here. I will press 1 and come into the front view, and right now I will switch off this hood and also the speaker, and then now I will press Shift A, and I am now going to add a grid, and I am going to just set this grid to have 50 X subdivisions, 50 Y subdivision, and also I will make its size, instead of 2 I will make it as 2.4. I will make it a little big. I will press 7 and come into the top view, and if I press tab, you can see that you have 50 faces over here, and I will come into the face selection now, and with the face selection if I press I, you can now see that the faces are getting inset, but it is getting inset to the center. So to insert to the individual origin, I will press I again, and now you can see that this inset is going to happen in its individual origin. I will just click, and I will zoom it, and I am going to set this thickness to around 0.01, and you can see the small holes present over here. And then I will press X, and I am going to delete the faces. So now you have something like a grid like structure. So now I will press tab, and for this I will add a slight amount of thickness to this. So for that I will come into the modifier, and in the add modifier I am going to search for the modifier Solidify, and I will add this Solidify modifier so that it is slightly thicker and you have this surface. So now I will press 1. Now I am in the edit mode and I have pressed A to select everything, and now I will come over here and I will enable this hood and speaker, both I will enable it. Now in the edit mode I will select this, press G and move it over here, press R, and I am going to rotate it like this, and I am just going to bring it and place it somewhere here at this point. At this point I will place it. I am editing it in placing it in the edit mode. I will press 1 again and I will press G and I will slightly move it down, and now you can see still more I will move it down so that it covers this entire segment correctly. So I will move it down like this so that this entire segment is covered. So if required I will press S and I will slightly scale it. Okay, so this entire segment is now covered, and if I press tab and if you see this, this is going to now appear like a perforated cloth. Press 1 and come into the front view, and this is now in the object mode, and this grid I am now going to call this as perforated cloth, and then I am now in the object mode, come into the modifier, and I am going to add the modifier mirror. So when I add the modifier mirror, you can see it has been placed on the other side also. I have, if I select this, I have certain divisions here. I want these things to be removed and I want this to be present only inside this ring. So for this I will press tab, I will come into the edit mode, and in the edit mode I will come into the vertex selection mode, and I will turn over here and I will press Alt A to deselect everything. I will enable this toggle X-ray, and then I am going to now press C, and now I will just paint here and remove all the edges here like this, which are overlapping on my speaker. So I will select these edges here like this, and also here also I will select all these edges here like this, and similarly here also I will select all the edges here, and I am going to just remove off all these things over here. So I will select this, and now I will press X, right click, I will press X, and I am going to delete these vertices. Now if I press tab, and if I just deselect this, and if I close this toggle X-ray and if I see this, so now you can see that my speaker is now going to have this perforated surface. So I will press Shift A, and I am now going to add an empty, and I am going to just add an empty plane axis here, and I am going to call this as in capital headphones, and then I am going to select this hood, then speaker, then I am going to with control click I will select this perforated cloth, and finally I will select this headphone. So that headphone is the active element. Press Ctrl P and you parent it to object. Tab here, and if I now select this headphone and move it, the entire headphone is going to move. And finally now our entire headphone is now ready. I will come into this shader options, and I am going to enable this cavity to see this in a better way, and finally I will go into file, save as. I will name this as 311 headset, and then I am going to now save this. And now finally here I will press N and I will open this panel, then press 0 and come into the camera view, and then here I will come into the view and I will enable camera to view, and I am going to just zoom it out like this, and I am going to set an angle like this, and I am going to set this angle, and I will switch off this camera to view, and then I will press 0 back and I will come into the press 7 and come into the top view. I will select this light and I will press G and move it camera over here. I can do is I will select this light, and in the light I am going to increase this intensity 3000 watts, and now if I come here and if I click render image, now you can see our headphone has been rendered. Now finally go over here and go to image, save as and save this as headphone, and then close this render window and also go to file and save this file. Okay, now, so now I will press 1 and if I see this, so our file or this headphone is now perfectly modeled. So with this we have completed our next mission and we have successfully made this headphone ready, and from our next session we are going to build a more complex model. We are going to model a robot.